I'm back! And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another rip-roaring, grand-snorting episode of Mold Diversity. I am Kwaman Star G. We are your keys to the Mold Diverse, and we've got another dope, incredibly dope episode of Mold Diversity for you guys tonight. We got guests, we got stories, we got fun times, and I cannot wait to let you guys have it. So I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to toss it to our lovely people and let them know who you are. Let's start off with Key.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Multiverse episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be, of course, another one to remember.
Avia's
What's
next.
up, everybody? What's up, everybody? I'm Avia. We have a great show for you tonight.
We're going to toss it over to Big Aaron.
What's up? You know what it is. It is the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, muppetational Aaron Michael, and I am here on the often imitated, never duplicated Multiversity, and I'm so excited.
Grow.
It's the way that you were frozen for 90% of that.
And it worked.
Absolutely. And now we're going to toss it over to Mike and let him know.
Hey, what's up? It's my _odd geek on all platforms. I hope everybody is ready for a wonderful show. We have a wonderful guest tonight, and I'm super excited for you to get to talk to him with.
Yep. And now we're going to toss it to Joe, who will round it out and let everyone know what's on the docket for tonight.
Let's start that over again. I was mute. Hey everybody, tonight we are having a really great show and a really bright light on my face. We're gonna have a guest, open up with the guest, Mr. Ari Kaplan, who writes comics, video games, children's books. He's a comedic writer. So he's into a lot of stuff, but he's really funny. We're going to talk about his book, his newest book out, that was inspired by his daughter. And then we're going to dive into this conversation with Ari about how he adapts superhero characters for kids. Because you're going to find out he writes a lot of superhero characters, a lot of them. So stay tuned for that.
And let's throw it to Mr. Kaplan himself. Let's do it.
Hello.
Hey.
All right.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for having me, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
We're really excited to talk about first this new book you got out. Can you tell us a little bit about it and why you wrote it? You know, and you know when does it come out? It's already out, right?
It's all right. You mean Frankie and the Dragon?
Frankie and the Dragon, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's actually one of 3 books that came out simultaneously. They're part of this series that Capstone, the children's book publisher Capstone, is doing right now, and it's called the Mythical Creatures series. And so I was tapped to write 3 of the books in that series. Another author wrote the other 3 books, and each of us took 3 different mythical creatures, like the ones that I took were a dragon, a giant, and a troll. And so each of those books had to be centered around one of those creatures and the human kid that goes on an adventure of some sort with each one of those creatures. But by far the most personal of those books to me is the dragon one, which is called Frankie and the Dragon. I have a copy of it right here. And there you go. And it's about Frankie Marble, who's this little girl who's very, very, very much based on my daughter, Arie Kaplan. And I know one of the hosts here, his name is Avia, and it's spelled somewhat like Avia's name, except with an I, Aviya. And the book is like Frankie Marble. She's really introverted. She's really nerdy. She is black. She has glasses. She is has her hair often in like a pineapple and she really likes drawing things, and all those things are qualities that my daughter has. And one day she finds a dinosaur egg, and it's disguised. It seems to be a rock. She's like sketching in the park, and she sees what she thinks is a rock. It's dinosaur egg. Dinosaur bursts out. She's like, I want to keep this as a pet. But she knows her parents are not going to go for that, so she disguises it as a dog. She calls it Bandit. It's her dog Bandit. That's totally not a dragon, and she's terrible at disguising it as a dog, but it manages to fool her parents anyway. There was going to be this whole like running gag with how her parents are so overworked at their jobs that's why they're fooled by this, but I just didn't have any room for that. So maybe if there's like a director's cut someday, I'll add that scene back in there. And that's kind of the basic premise. It's her going on this journey with this dragon that kind of helps her to be a little more sure of herself and more confident, and to like sort of do things that go outside of her comfort zone.
So I know that you've written several different stories over the years, and you've written some amazing characters. But when I heard you talking about Frankie and the Dragon, this seemed to be one of the books that you were like really excited about.
Yes.
I mean, after writing, like, I think you've written Storm stories and like Doctor Strange and like some of those like Marvel characters and DC characters. Why is this one like the one that really got you excited?
Well, it was really cool that it was so specifically like I'll tell you. Okay, in the past I was able to like make references to my daughter. I wrote this Avengers Little Golden book called The Threat of Thanos, and one of the cool things that you can do when you write a book it was my editor and I figured out that you can only fit 4 Avengers into a Little Golden book, and not have like it be bursting with not have the characters like sort of overwhelm the story, because with 4 characters you need to explain to a crowd of largely toddlers who's going to be reading this book like who these characters are, the 4 Avengers in that book are Iron Man, Black Panther, Wasp, and Thor. And so you have to explain who those characters are, unpack who Thanos is because he's in the story, explain what the Infinity Gauntlet is, explain what at least 3 or 4 of the Infinity Stones do, and on a kid level, on like a very young kid level, like what does the Reality Stone do, and how do you explain that to a toddler, like what the word reality even means, you know? And so it's quite a lot of things you have to unpack, but there's like this scientist that calls them onto the scene of the crime, like at the beginning of the story where Thanos is like trying to get his hands on the gauntlet and everything, get all the stones. And so I figured, well, we could make the scientist look like my daughter, so it's like a cameo that she has at the beginning and ending of the story. She's like, she calls them down at the beginning, and then at the end of the story, you see her talking to our heroes as the Nova Corps is like escorting Thanos away in handcuffs, you know. And that's a cameo, but I was like, I want to do something more when she's actually where my daughter's the hero of the story. And so I told her that I was going to do this. I didn't tell her until after it was greenlit because, you know, I pitched all 3 of these graphic novels to Capstone. It was an assignment where they came to me, this awesome editor that I had there named Marissa Bolt. And I hope I'm saying her last name right. I've never said it out loud. It might be Bolte. There's an E at the end. I don't know. Anyway, but I pitched them to Marissa, and I like talked them over on the phone first. This is what I've got in mind. What do you think? And she's like, well, write these up as pitches, and I'll like, you know, send them to everyone else here, and we'll figure out whether these are the ones we're going to go with. And they were. And so once that happened, I was like, okay, we're definitely doing this. We're definitely doing Frankie and the Dragon, and she's going to be a character. And so I called my daughter into my study, and I was like, this is where I do all the work. It's where the magic happens, kids. And I was like, we're gonna do this, and this is going to be a character based on you, and I'm going to be writing it. It's going to come out in around a year. She was upset that it's going to take a year for it to come out because you try to explain the production process of a book to a kid, and they just don't want to sit still for it. But aside from that, she was really excited that it was that I was gonna make this book, and that she was gonna be that the hero character was going to be based on her. And so every time like a new step in the process of making this book went forward, she would be very much involved in the process, in that like the thumbnail sketches will come in from the artist, and I'd be looking them over, and she'd be sitting on my lap and looking them over with me. And like that's also true when the color art came in, when the black and white art came in, then when the color art came in, and then the proofs came in for me to proofread. And she was actually really helpful in terms of that too, because she was like, "Oh, Daddy, there's supposed to be a period at the end of the sentence, and they forgot that." I was like, "Oh my God, you're right." So she actually stopped the book from having a few typos, which was very nice. But on a deeper, more emotional level, it's just that, like, it meant a lot to me to write this book, because to show her that I love her so much, and that this is sort of like a gift I made to her. It's like a gift for her that I'm also sharing with every other kid in the country and maybe the world, so it's mass produced. So maybe it seems for that reason like it's less special, but she thought it was very special, and so did I, and we still do. And also, look, she's very, very aware that there's not a lot of kids that look like her that you see in comics or graphic novels or popular media in general. Mm-hmm. And so she's very aware of that. And so it also meant a lot to her on that level. So, that was why it was so special making this book, and also having her be a part of the process. Hey, what do you think of this? And show her, because it starts getting real very early. Like after you're finished with like the final draft of the script, then they're like, okay, here's some concept drawings of Frankie and her parents and the dragon bandit and everything. And it's like, oh God, this is really happening. And that sensation never goes away, where you're like, I've been writing comics and graphic novels for a long time, but the excitement of it and the fun of it, that like, oh God, this is really going to happen, it never stops, and I hope it'll never stop. So
that's amazing. That is amazing. That is amazing. I love that.
Thanks.
And I know, and I've had several conversations with Ari about representation, and I was excited for this book too, because for the same reason, because both of our kids are, his daughter and my kids are biracial, and so having the kid, a kid that looks like them as the topic, the subject, or just a black girl as the heroine, as the one, who the story centers on. It's not you don't see that a lot. So I was really excited when I heard about the stories for the same reason. So I'm gonna open it up to the group. You guys have any questions for Ari?
Yeah, actually, I'm very interested in, I'm really interested in, writing for children, especially children's books. But what hit me, what struck me was you talking about these really big and elaborate ideas. How do you approach, like, simplifying these really big and intricate ideas for children?
Well, that's a great question, and there's like a couple, because it honestly does come up in almost all of these projects. Like the Little Golden Books, it comes up constantly, because it's like there's always some concept in every. I've worked on, has it been six or seven Little Golden Books so far that I've written, and in every one, there's some concept in there where it's a big challenge, and it's a fun challenge, and I'm grateful to get the work from Penguin Random House and everything. And working on these books is a lot of fun. They always get the best artists in the world to illustrate them. But there's also something that's very challenging to like break down on a little kid level, on a very level for very young kids. And so again, with the Avengers one, it was very much like the Infinity Stones. And part of the process is that what I do for any of these projects is it often starts out with like two steps in the process. One of them is doing what I call story cauldron, where I just like write as many ideas as I can, like sort of seeing what sticks. Like maybe I go this way with it, maybe I go that way with it. And then I break it down to like something more manageable by doing what this thing called like a logic map. where it's like I just like yes and it like you would if you're an improv troupe, which I have some training in that world as well. So it's like, okay, Frankie, if Frankie finds the dragon egg and the dragon hatches, then what does that specifically lead to in like a cause and effect kind of way? Like maybe it leads to her disguising it, or does it lead to her showing it to her parents first? No, if she shows it to her parents, they're going to definitely say no, so we can't do that. So like logic mapping it is like a way to like, what's the easiest way to do this where I have a clear through line for the plot and I know the goals of all the characters and everything that makes sense. And then once I've done that, I do like thumbnail sketches of the entire book. And just where I'm like using the plot outline as like a guide, but I'm drawing the entire thing, like improvising the dialogue while I'm drawing it all up and seeing what works. And like, is a kid going to understand all this? Is the kid, because not all my work is for children. Some of it is for adults, but a lot of it is for kids. Like with the age range that this is being written for, is it gonna make sense? And if not, do I have enough room to explain this plot point, or do I have to like rip it out entirely? How can I simplify certain things? Like with Frankie and the Dragon, what I realized fairly early on in terms of like drawing the whole thing up in thumbnail sketches is I was like, okay, if I can only do like 3 or 4 panels a page and the whole thing's 32 pages, I've got to simplify certain things in the plot. It seemed like a good idea when I was writing this logic map and when I was turning that into the outline. But now I don't have much room for it. It was going to originally take place over the course of a few different days. Now I have to have the entire story take place over like one big day. Or like most of it take place over the course of like one big day. How does that work? In a way, it's kind of freeing because it means the whole story is like this one big gulp, of her going on this big adventure. But in a way, it also forces you to like compress certain things, and you have to make sure that still works. So I hope, Aaron, does that answer the question?
Oh yeah, okay. Definitely. You've given me some ideas, so thank you.
Yeah. Are you going to start writing for kids, Aaron? Like a New Gods for kids or something?
Oh, I have a lot of things. Whenever I get my episode, we'll talk about it.
Okay. Yeah. We'll have to tell Ari about Aaron and the New Gods. We'll have to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I got a question.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Since your daughter had a pretty big creative input for helping you with this story, have y'all talked about any kind of future stories that maybe Frankie and the Dragon might go on? Or did she come up with any of her own future ideas for the book?
She hasn't. I'd love to do it if I could. I mean, it's weird because like it's certainly something I thought about. I don't have a lot of control over it though, because these were done work for hire, so I don't own the copyright to these. So I've kind of got to wait for Capstone to say like if they want me to do any more adventures with these characters. I did a book for them years and years ago called The New Kid from Planet Dwarf, which was also a kids graphic novel, and it was written for slightly younger kids, but with that one there was some talk of like either doing a sequel or some like digital exclusive content like that would only be available online. That never happened because this was The New Kid from Planet Dwarf was part of this other imprint that they had that kind of, it didn't last that long. It was like 2 waves of titles, and I think mine was part of the second wave. And then after that, they decided to not do any more work with that imprint. So it meant we couldn't do, even though the book seemed to be selling well, it looked like we weren't going to do any more work with those characters. With this, I hope it does end up happening because I love these characters and they're a lot of fun. And obviously, I'm biased because it's based on my daughter. But but I've also planted certain seeds in, and I never told the editors of Capstone about this. But this is really the first time saying this. But the other 2 books, The Troll Under Puzzlefoot Bridge, which is right here, and Trevor the Very Best Giant, there's like, I planted the seeds for where they're not a shared universe right now, but there's certain things that I put in each of the books that if I wanted to, I could like connect the dots with all of them and be like, this is how this is a shared universe. So there's a way to do that as well.
The Kaplan verse. I like it.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and toss it to your books, toss it to your website with your books, so people can
Oh, thank you.
and know what you're all about and everything.
If you can click on those links, you can see them. My kids have the Lego Star Wars books, and
Yes.
can you talk about those, because they're not just books. You don't write just you don't write just books. Like, can you explain what those books are about? They're really cool.
Sure. The Lego Star Wars books are, I wrote 3 of them between 2015 and 2018. And they're just, I had just a ton of fun with them. I was just looking at the comments, and it's weird because when you I write a lot of stuff. And so when you write a lot of stuff, you're like, you sometimes forget, you're like, oh yeah, I wrote that, didn't I? Because like I was looking at the customer reviews for on Amazon for some of these books, and which is not a great thing to do psychologically, probably, because like if any of them are negative, you're like, you don't feel too great at the end of that. So maybe that's not a good thing to do. But the ones for the Lego Star Wars ones that I've written tend to be pretty positive. They're all out now from Scholastic, by the way. And for one of those, it's either the official Stormtrooper training manual or the official Force training manual. I can't remember which one. But there's like a Stormtrooper I put in there named Shirtless Lou. And there was like, I like some customer review from like this parent, and the parent is like describing like going through this book with their kid, and the kid's like, Shirtless Lou is like his favorite Stormtrooper now, which is like this thing. So with each of these books, I tried to write them like it was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for kids, which was sort of my pitch for it. I mean, this was these were on assignment. It's an awesome editor at Scholastic named Michael Petranek, who I'd worked with before in the comics industry when he was a comic book editor before this. Now he was at Scholastic, and he was like, do you want to write these? And of course, I'm going to say yes. I'm a big-time Star Wars fan. I've worked on a bunch of different Star Wars projects, either before and after this. And so this was a lot of fun. And my pitch for like how to write them was, I was like, okay, these are guidebooks, all 3 of them, in some way, shape, or form. They're all guidebooks. Why not write them like Hitchhiker's Guide and do like Douglas Adams for kids? And he thought that was a great idea. And so I did that, and they've all got like jokes and activity sections. They're all guides. So like the official Force training manual, like Rey is narrating it, and with the official Stormtrooper training manual, a Stormtrooper is narrating it. And I figure since Stormtroopers tend to be not too bright, and also they think that they're the good guys in the story, and so I totally framed it like that, where he's saying that like, that Obi-Wan and Luke and all these characters, those are the real villains of the story, and he's assuming that the audience knows that they're the villains, and also thinks that they're the villains of the story. And so with each one, you're sort of explaining the world of Star Wars to kids, but in a funny, wacky Lego movie kind of way. And with each of them also, there's like poetry sections and joke sections and activities and codes and stuff that I all came up with and wrote. The poetry sections were my idea because like I was like, why not do Star Wars poetry sections? So like there's like a haiku section in the official Stormtrooper training manual, and there's a limerick section in the official Force training manual. Yeah. And I could literally write like Star Wars, like an entire book of Star Wars limericks or Star Wars haiku, like if I ever got the chance to do that, because it was just a lot of fun.
The kids love, they come with a little Lego character too, so they get a little Rey and a little Stormtrooper, and my kids got these books and loved them, absorbed every little part of it, loved all the limericks, of course. My favorite was the Stormtrooper guy, because you never think about Stormtroopers having personalities, and Art gives them names, and they've got like emotions, and so it's like these books are. I can see an adult picking up this book and laughing their asses off, just as hard as a kid, because I did.
Well, thanks.
And just go through and just have a bunch of fun. There's like activities in them as well.
Yeah, and I want to look. One of them is I got really into the weeds with those two. By the way, one of the activities in one of the book, I don't remember whether it's Stormtrooper Training Manual or Force Training Manual. One of them is based on like a real code that existed in World War One. Either World War One or the Civil War. I can't remember which one, but it's like a real code that I found somewhere. And I was like, well, this is the public domain. I mean, this counts, no one has a copyright to this. Soldiers use it. So, like, let's just put it in there and see if kids like it. So,
Yeah.
It was cool.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Really, really dope.
Yeah, all these books are on or wherever. I mean, I found like one of them at the airport. I mean, they're everywhere,
Nice.
and the golden books are too.
That's amazing.
Go to the golden books and show everybody. Oh, you're like I was gonna show everybody the little golden books. Those are.
Sure.
And so I wanted to ask a question about adapting these characters, these heavy. So you've got Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is not a PG kids dude.
No, he isn't.
So
especially these days.
How do you adapt? How do you adapt these characters, these very adult, very not PG characters to kids?
That was a big concern with Doctor Strange and with the second little golden book I wrote, the Jurassic Park little golden book, especially because it's kind of based on a horror movie. I mean, Jurassic Park's more of an action movie than anything else, but you've got like Samuel L. Jackson's severed arm and stuff like that. That's not very kid friendly. So with I'll take the Doctor Strange one first because that was the first one that I did. That involved, first of all, I had to just get on the phone with my editor, with Dennis Shealy, who's one of the two editors I've worked with on all of these so far, and it was, and I was so happy to get the gig to write this, but it was also like, how do you do some of these things? So I had to like just talk it over with him on the phone. I was like, we've got to have Dormammu, but Dormammu is a real mouthful. I know that your vocabulary choices in these books are supposed to be pretty simple because the age group is like literally it's like 2 to 5. So you're supposed to be, the publisher assumes that parents are going to be reading them to the kids or with the kids. But we got to have Dormammu because he's like the Professor Moriarty or Lex Luthor of Doctor Strange. And he's like, and Dennis, my editor, is like, oh no, we've got to have Dormammu. He's like, that's the exception. There's going to be a couple of exceptions to the rule of having pretty simple vocabulary words in these books, just because it's Doctor Strange. And a lot of these words are kind of a mouthful. But he was like, parents are going to be reading them with the kids. They'll explain how to pronounce them when they read them with the kids and everything. And I thought that's a good point. And also, the other rule was that I can't put any characters into the Doctor Strange little golden book that in any way are satanic or devil-like in any way. You can't put the devil in there. You can't put Mephisto in there. You can't there's like a Satanish character that's like invoked by Doctor Strange every once in a while. And you can't put it because the name Satan is literally in his name. So you can't have stuff like that. You can't have stuff that's going to like get angry letters from parents. And that's totally understandable. I was totally on board with that. But it's good to like have those guidelines and rules like set up at the beginning of when you're working on something like that. But also a big part of the challenge of writing a little golden book is each page is sort of like a snapshot, and there's a lot of double page spreads wherever you can put them. So it's like, how much action can you put in each of these snapshots in each of these pages? So you're trying to figure out ways to communicate as much story as you can in every page, because you're writing not only the text, but you're also writing the art notes for the artist to follow. What would be the stage directions or the in a play or a screenplay. So you're writing what the artist is going to draw as well. And so like there's a scene of like Doctor Strange like breaking out of these bonds, these chains, these glowing chains, and you've got like what is it, the In-Betweener and Living Tribunal on either side of him, and he's like floating in outer space. And so there's a lot that's happening in there. And first of all, explaining what the Living Tribunal is and what the In-Betweener is for kids, because both of them are these sort of like cosmic judges of human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And so explaining that is on a kid level took a lot of like rewriting it, not getting notes from the editor who made me rewrite it, but just like on my own rewriting it before I even turned it into the editor in the first place. Just like simplifying and what's another way to say morality or philosophy, like in a way that like a little kid would understand it, you know, because you're dealing with these big existential concepts of Doctor Strange. And so what we found is that, like, with that book specifically and with the Jurassic Park one, parents that are huge comic book fans love reading the Doctor Strange one to their kids because it's a way of, like, introducing this world to their kids. And I guess that's the idea. And same thing with Jurassic Park. Like, if you're a parent that grew up on the Jurassic Park movies, you'll probably like reading this book to your kids, you know, because it's like, and with the Jurassic Park one, it was very much like stripping out all the violence. So the dinosaurs are just roaring at the kids, and they're just roaring at the Sam Neill character and the Jeff Goldblum and the Laura Dern character. And you know, they're not trying to bite them or eat them. They're just roaring at them. And once I realized that you could just do that like saved me a lot of, okay, I was like, that's a good guideline from here on in.
Can you ask a question?
So I think, yeah, of course.
So I'm looking at, you know, listening to you to do the Jurassic Park. Would you ever want to do, I don't know if you have or not, but would you ever want to do like a how-to guide for the Jurassic Park universe, or is there any other universes that you haven't been able to do guides for that you would like to do?
I would love to. I'd love to do a guidebook for.
Those are cool. Those are really cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they are. And what you realize when you have to deal with any of these, whether it's the Star Wars universe or the Marvel universe or Jurassic Park, is that each of these fictional worlds or fictional universes has such a passionate fan base, and they know everything. And they're like, nothing phases them because they know every like little thing about this universe. So you've really got to be on top of that. So like, I wrote another it's a Jurassic World little golden book that comes out in May. It's called Mr. DNA's Book of Dinosaurs. And it's narrated by Mr. DNA, who's a little animated strand of DNA that, like, he's
sweet.
From the first, you guys remember this from the first Jurassic Park movie? Yeah. So he's in the movie for like 5 minutes tops. But, and again, this was the editor's idea. They were like, do you want to do this? And I'm like, oh, hell yes, absolutely. Are you kidding? Because, like, write a book that's, like, in character. It's being narrated by, like, one of the in-universe characters from the movies. Yeah, of course. So he's like, you know, let's look at this next dinosaur. This big galoot's as big as 2 tractor trailers, and you know, and it's like, so you're trying to figure out like how can you get that sort of like old timey cowboy lingo into the book, but not in a way that it's going to prevent kids from understanding what's being written. You know, not in a way that's going to distract from the story or detract from the story, but also shoving in like a few facts about each dinosaur that kids would find interesting and useful. And I think it's a cool way to like keyhole into the Jurassic World, movies as well. So I think that but also it's like you have to be aware of like, are there more obscure characters from the Jurassic Park / Jurassic World universe that you can put in this book? Is there stuff about the world building that you should be aware of? You know, and to answer your other question, I mean, there are other universes I haven't dealt with yet that I'd like to. I'd certainly like to do something in the Star Trek universe, for example. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. I always thought it'd be fun to do like Quark's Guide to Hospitality or something like that. Quark's Etiquette. Nice. Like, what do Ferengis think of as like an etiquette guide? You know, so like I don't know. Cool. I thought it'd be fun to do something like that at some point.
That would be amazing. Then my follow-up question is: would you ever want to? Well, which one if you have a favorite one, which one would you be really kind of hyped to see be made into like a little mini series for kids. You know, that could possibly be on like Nick Jr. or Disney Disney Kids channel or
Well, they've
PBS
done.
Kids.
No, that's a good question. It's something I've thought of a lot. A couple things. When I was writing the Lego Star Wars books, those came so easily to me in terms of like how to make it funny and how to. I mean, there was a little bit of a stumbling block with the official Force training manual where I was having trouble getting into Rey's voice and the voice of Rey, and then I realized I was like, oh wait, she's reminding me of so because I was like watching footage of like Last Jedi had come out at that point, but like definitely Force Awakens, and I was like, she reminds me of someone when she gets really excited and happy about something, and then I realized it's Russell Brand. She reminds me, like when she gets excited, like I'm going to do a terrible British accent now, but like it's really amazing and fantastic. It's like reminded me of like Russell Brand. So I was just like writing the book in Russell Brand's Russell Brand's voice, and that kind of without like the G-rated version of Russell Brand's voice, but that kind of worked, and it like made the book kind of come alive. But I thought like. They've done a few Lego Star Wars specials on and miniseries on I think it's on Cartoon Network. Either that or Disney XD or maybe both. I guess it's Disney XD because it's it's Disney and they own Lucasfilm. But I thought I'd certainly like to write some of those, and so that's an example of that. Just because I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that universe there's so many. The universe is so rich, and it doesn't take itself very seriously a lot of the time, and so it kind of lends itself to here's some funny Jabba the Hutt jokes, here's some funny Ahsoka jokes that you could do. Here's some there's so much we know about each of these characters at this point.
I would love to see an office version of the Stormtrooper,
Right?
Yes.
Like the HR, like an extension. I wanted to get that book and so I can show it on here, but the kids have gone. They really went through it. So it's like colored on and ripped a little bit and stuff. But yeah, that book is one that I love the humor in, and I can see it becoming like an office version, of how Stormtroopers HR is like. So that one I love.
It would have to be wild.
It would be.
I would
like to see it.
Right.
So Ari, seeing as you are a huge comic book superhero fan and the whatnot, my question to you is, what for yourself? What is your favorite superhero stories, content that you consume? Not now, or it could be when you were younger back in the day, what inspired you to do what you do now. What is the stuff that gets you going nowadays?
Well, it depends because, honestly, a lot of these characters are at the mercy of whoever writes them, and whoever draws and edits them as well, obviously. But definitely, they're at the mercy of who writes them. My favorite characters growing up were Dr. Fate, Kitty Pryde, Monica Rambeau. Any or all of the Green Lanterns, and the Shazam, Captain Marvel, certain characters. Oh, Booster Gold, Spider Ham. So and those are Howard the Duck, Fantastic Four. So I like.
Did you just
those
say
are
Howard
a lot of the? What? Yeah, I said
Howard the Duck.
Period.
Yeah, it's so weird because it's comics are so bizarre in this way. They have, if you look at the back catalog from any comic book company, you find the weirdest stuff. Oh look, of course there's a character at Marvel called Hell Cow. Of course there is. Why wouldn't there be?
Right?
But that's kind of the charm of them as well. That's kind of the charm of these fictional universes. Is a lot of the time, the writers and artists aren't taking them too seriously, and they are having a really fun sense of humor about them. And and these are a lot of the characters that I like as an adult too. That I would I would kill to write stories with some of these characters. Some of them I have written stories with, like in terms of children's books. Batman was a big favorite growing up. I wrote a Batman children's book last year, and it's funny because the main here I'm finding it. It's called Harley at Bat. I still got to update some of these pages on my website, so some of these books aren't on there yet. But this was a lot of fun to write. But here's the funny thing: this is the main difference between Batman for adults and Batman for kids that I've noticed, which is that I don't think Batman for kids has dead parents in his backstory. If he does, it's never in the back of your head when you're writing the story. In fact, it's kind of helpful to even think of it as not part of the story because it doesn't affect anything about the story. That having been said, a lot of writing this was like brainstorming, like drawing like what the folks at Pixar called story sketches, which are like these like little drawings. Because I started out drawing cartoons before I was doing any of this for like magazines like Nickelodeon magazine and stuff like that, and drawing like one panel gag cartoons. So it really helps me in terms of like the early brainstorming process to like just draw a lot of these like gag sketches with like for example with Harley Quinn when I was starting to write this book. So like what are some weapons that she could have that don't look like weapons, that don't look like guns or whatever? Because at a certain point, like, okay, this is about Harley Quinn is stolen this diamond and she's playing a baseball game with the Joker using the diamond as a baseball, and Batman's got to like break it up and stop her. And like, so I wanted to put a lot of baseball gags in this. And I was at one point I was gonna have like a t-shirt cannon that like she weaponizes it to like fight Batman with like a t-shirt, one of those t-shirt cannon bazooka things. But I think it looked too weapon-like, and so the editors were like, no, come up with something else. And which was the right call. A bazooka is a weapon. So she was gonna have like a t-shirt cannon bazooka. I think that's maybe a little too adult. But but I have like these glitter bombs that she has at a certain point, which are these like balloons filled with glitter. And like
bombs, yes.
I think someone had a Harley Quinn, like an animated short where Harley Quinn used that at some point, like years ago. And I was like, oh, that's cool. We could do something with that. That's family friendly. But you have to like draw all these sketches of like, if you're me anyway, that's part of my process is like drawing these little sketches like Harley Quinn shooting, like throwing like water balloons and glitter bombs at Batman. Harley Quinn like throwing these other things at Batman. And like, what does that look like? Is it funny? Does it communicate like to the kids? Because again, you're writing the art notes, and so you're telling the artist what to draw. So that's like a big part of it. But like Batman's always been a favorite character. I think what's funny is that even when you go to that first Batman story from 1939, which is it's like 6 or 8 pages long, and there's a lot of plot that Bill Finger, the writer, like shoved in there. But it sets itself up as a detective story from day one, from that first story, and so immediately you're like, oh, he's a detective. You can put detective stuff in there. And then in some of those early stories, some of them were like horror stories of like Batman fighting like a vampire. So it's like you can make him a horror character really easily. Now, obviously, that doesn't translate to children's books, but just like he's such a rich character in terms of like who he is and what he can do, that there's a lot of fertile ground there. So like writers never seem to have a problem coming up with stuff for Batman to do. Also, the X-Men were a big favorite when I was growing up, just because I related to them so much. You just like, as a teenager, you feel like such a freak all the time that I think the X-Men are a perfect metaphor for so many things, So
yeah,
dope.
Agreed.
I was gonna ask, because you already said Star Trek. I was gonna ask, like, what is something that you haven't, like, a character or a universe that you haven't written? What would you like to write? But you already answered that, so I'm just gonna ask, what is your favorite superhero movie currently? You can either do Marvel or DC, or you can do both. So I just want to know, what is your favorite movie right now?
Okay, well, I don't know if this one's exactly my favorite, but it's right up there. Thor Ragnarok is right up there. It's probably my favorite MCU movie right now, although I'd be lying if I didn't say that I watched the portal scene from Endgame at least once a day, maybe twice. Maybe it's one of the only things that's gotten me through the pandemic so far is watching this wonderful scene of hope that like brings a tear to my eye every time, you know. And of course it's gotten like all this added significance. It's Chadwick Boseman passed away, where it's like Jesus, it's like the saddest thing I've ever seen now. Like you watch that scene of him coming through the portal and it's like, wow. That is really, really hopeful and also a huge bummer at the same time.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yep.
For obvious reasons.
That's like part of the movie too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a, I don't know if I've ever like seen an audience that excited in a movie theater as like the portal scene. There's like this unbroken. There's just so many like applause moments in that whole sequence of like the fight against Thanos. You know, the Avengers assemble. So there's like Cap holding Mjolnir for the first time, and then the portal scene, and then you know all these other things. Captain Marvel's entered the fray, and it's like it's crazy. But like Endgame is certainly up there as like a favorite superhero movie. It's just the fact that they've pulled off this incredibly packed with characters, comic book style fight sequence that until very recently you would not have been able to see a scene like that in a movie. You would only have been able to see it in a comic book, and yet they've like the Russo brothers have pulled it off. Like they, you know. But really, Thor Ragnarok for like its sense of humor and everything, and like everything about it's so iconic, and like Valkyrie, just Tessa Thompson's so good as Valkyrie. Like, why there isn't like a whole franchise with just Valkyrie right now, I have no idea, because she's so magnetic and charismatic that you know, just works really well. And the costume's really cool too.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a series that we need, actually.
I need that. Definitely.
Yeah.
So, anybody else have any other good questions? Before I kind of start hogging the space. So, I know I asked Mike. I get in here and sometimes forget that I'm like not the only person in the room. I just love the idea of this adaptation thing, and you know, taking these adult concepts and things to kids books. Do you ever worry about the fan bros coming after you because of something you put in a little golden book, or has that happened to you? You know, like they picked up your golden book and they're like, there's no way that Doctor Strange would, and they like fired off a email or whatever. Have you had that happen yet?
That hasn't happened yet, and I think what's behind that so far is that I've been really good about like just trying to like go down the rabbit hole and like get really like obscure characters in some of these books if I can, and just really do these characters right, you know, in terms of like doing my homework. Like, it's weird, but you kind of have to have a PhD in Batman to write like a Batman children's book. You kind of have, or a comic book or anything else. And the same applies to like all of these characters and all these like worlds. You know, look, I wrote like a Star Wars Adventures comic book story 2 years ago now, for IDW, and it was like a Jabba the Hutt and Bib Fortuna story. And basically the idea was like, it was like, what if, because I was amazed we never saw this. Like, I was like, Bib Fortuna's got to be so stressed out by being pushed around by Jabba all day. And Jabba is so high maintenance that at some point the stress has got to like overload Bib Fortuna's system and he's going to pass out. So that's what happens in the story. We see like basically like a week in the life of Bib Fortuna. What happens when he's like so stressed out that he like passes out and he's really sick, and so Jabba's got to try and find like a temporary replacement. And through doing that, Jabba realizes how much he should appreciate Bib Fortuna. So, like, you know, and most of the reviews for the story were really good. Some of them were like, Some of them, however, were like, why is Ari Kaplan writing like a humorous Star Wars story? Why are you trying to write it for laughs? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry that I'm writing a funny story in this world of laser swords and space monsters. How dare I not take it 100% seriously? It's like George Lucas isn't taking it 100% seriously. Like, it's literally a riff on Flash Gordon, like Flash Gordon serials from the 1930s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if the filmmakers and like the Mandalorian's often played for laughs, so like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are not taking it 100% seriously. You're taking it seriously in that you're treating the characters with integrity, and which I was doing in the Jabba the Hutt story. And I love these characters, I feel a big responsibility as like the temporary custodian of these characters when I'm writing a story featuring them to do right by them and by the fandom. But that having been said, I think there's always a little room for like a not so serious Star Wars story or a not so serious Marvel story or whatever. Because at its heart, you've got to acknowledge that this is a fun, silly world, and that's, if any of these characters start, like, I can't imagine like a grimdark Star Wars movie. That would be ridiculous, So
tedious. So, well, it looks like we're almost edging up on an hour. I didn't mean to take up this long much of your time.
That's all right.
Where can we see you? Where do you have coming up next? Yes, my husband's snitching in the comments that I like Thor Ragnarok. I do like it, and not just because Jeff Goldblum is in it.
Get her done. Get her.
Yeah, you know it ain't going on.
I just think it's like and I like it for the reasons that you're saying. It's like a light, almost refreshment against the rest of the movies, because it doesn't take itself seriously at all, and it's such an oddball. But my question for you is, what do you have coming up next? Because I know there's something about a video game.
Yes, there is something about a video.
And then there's like a new project that you can finally talk about. So, what do you have coming up next?
A couple things. The video game it's a video game that I wrote the screenplay for it, meaning that I wrote the level outlines and scripts and the stories and the dialogue, and came up with all the world building and lore and everything. And it's called EQ: The Next Generation Lodestar. And there's already a previously existing version of EQ that came out a few years ago. It's an emotional fitness video game. So it's a video game where the idea is that if you play it, it'll help you increase your emotional resilience and lower your anxiety. So it teaches you like a lot of psychological concepts throughout the game. So I'm working on this next generation relaunch version of it. And right now you can play the first several levels of the game. You can play the first story of it. There's several stories. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say how many stories, but there's definitely more than two. And you are in the first story. It takes place in the 9th century AD, and you are the monarch of the human kingdom of Fuseladia, and you are married to, it's a marriage of convenience, a political marriage. You're married to the monarch of the troll kingdom, whose name is Krondalar. And Krondalar is either male, female, or non-binary, depending on what the player wants Krondalar to be. You've got to try and make this marriage work and make your two kingdoms come together and understand each other. And so it's a parody of stuff like Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. And it's a lot of fun. There's some Easter eggs in there. There's one character who's named after N.K. Jemisin. That, like, if you're a fan of N.K. Jemisin, you'll notice that. I'm having a real blast with it. So you can play the entire first story now, House of Krondalar. The second story, I believe, you can either start playing it really soon, or the first chapter or so might be out already. And in that one, the second story, all I can say about that one is you go on an adventure with William Shakespeare in the late 1500s. And he's a young William Shakespeare before he's become this great playwright. And I did a ton of research for that one, more than I thought. It's a slapstick comedy. How much research could it possibly be? And then I found that when you're married to someone who's also a writer, because my wife's a playwright, she's like very serious about this stuff. And she's like, no, you have characters making references to things that are anachronisms. You can't do that. It's a time travel story. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So then I have to do all this research and come up with like ways to make this stuff fit where I'm not putting anachronisms into the story. So I did a lot of research on the Elizabethan period and had a great time with it. And now I'm writing the third story, which I can't say anything about that. But it's like unspooling on a chapter a week basis, and it's really great. It's a lot of fun. It's available on the app stores, and aside from that, the Mr. DNA's Book of Dinosaurs is coming out in May. Also, a little golden book based on the first Sing movie, the Illumination Entertainment animated Sing movie. I think the Sing sequel is coming out soon. Mm-hmm. And so this is an adaptation of the first Sing movie, and so one's with Reese Witherspoon as the pig character, and I'm being a very bad salesman of this movie, this book, because I cannot remember Reese Witherspoon's character name right now. Does anyone remember?
I don't remember her character name, but I remember she was the pig who was the mom.
She's the pig. Yeah, she's the pig who's like, yeah.
And, she left the house just to, go audition, and the dad just basically fell apart. And yeah. And she has like a ton of pig. Yeah. I don't remember the names. I remember the characters.
Yeah, and the challenge with that one, and I have a lot of respect for Sing, because I think it's a wonderful movie, and it's, you just immediately feel for these characters. And like I gave that movie the My Dad's test, which is that I watched it with my dad, and if he likes it, I figure, okay, then it's got like a far-reaching appeal, because he doesn't like anything that's like really nerdy or anything. So like, but he found himself getting like teary-eyed with that movie, because there's the gorilla character who's like, he's got this relationship with his father who's in prison and everything. And it's really like, I think if you don't at some point find yourself getting a little teary-eyed with that movie, like you're probably made of stone, and I pity you. So it was the challenge with writing that book, though, was like, it's a musical. The movie's a musical. You're not going to put the lyrics from the songs in a little golden book. I guess there's a way to do that, but that's not the way that we did it. But like, how do you tell the story while still having it make sense and still having the same feel and the same tone to it, but you're not actually putting any song lyrics or anything in there? Mm. And so that was the challenge with that one. But I think we managed to make it work. So
when can we see it? When is it coming out?
That is also coming out in May. And I've been working on these like sticker art puzzle books where it's a book about a specific pop culture subject, and they're also like stickers that you like, they're puzzles that you put together with all these like sticker puzzle pieces. And so the first one was this Golden Girls sticker art puzzle book that came out like literally yesterday. And then I have a Minions one that I think also comes out in May. And it's the first two Minions movies. It's like synopses of both of them. And the third one is A Nightmare Before Christmas one that comes out in July, I believe. Mm-hmm. And the weird thing about that, or the interesting thing about the Nightmare Before Christmas one, is that that's all written in verse, in rhyming verse, as a giant poem. So it's a giant poem recapping the movie Nightmare Before Christmas. It's all done as a giant rhyming poem. And, it's a big challenge. They gave me the option, do I want to write it just in prose, or do I want to write it as a big poem? And I'm like, oh, I'm definitely doing the poem. And my wife Nadine is like, why did you give yourself this way harder job to do? And I'm like, because I'm going to nail it. I'm going to do a really good job, and then I'll look like a genius. That's why. So, as a writer, you try to challenge yourself, and it was definitely a challenge, but I think we pulled it off, because I think it looks really great. And there's like some glow in the dark stickers in that one too, but I don't know if I get to call myself a poet now because all the poetry that I've written is really silly and mostly for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But it is poetry. I don't know. It kind of counts. I don't know. Anyway,
I think you need to come up with a book of limericks and maybe with like I don't know Lord of the
Yes.
Rings themed or something.
Please do
I don't
that.
know. But the limericks in the Lego Star Wars books were hilarious. So
thanks.
got my kids loving them. Well, thank you so much, you guys. We put I think you put some links, producer Q, in the chat. Or if you can put a link to Ari's page, that's where they can find all the books, all the links. Buy his books. I know my kids have everyone that I can really snatch up. We don't have. We've still got to get Frankie and the Dragon. Actually, that one's going to be coming on the way with Nubia this week, hopefully.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Yeah, Amazon Prime is like very kind to me and doesn't, get the box lost again.
Yeah, that happened.
The Legs books. Oh, Lego books. Okay.
I think they mean the Lego books.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for coming and thanks for sharing with us. And, we really, really, I mean, I enjoyed, hearing how everything is made and everything's done. And, everybody else seems kind of.
Well, I'm absorbing this knowledge because I'm about to make me some children's books, so I need all this info.
I mean, Ari is like a font of information for me. Like whenever I like try to dabble, he's like been really, really helpful, even to the point of telling me like, okay, all right, you need to get more money for that, or they don't need to be doing this or that. So he's like really, really, really helpful with trying to share his knowledge. So you don't get that a lot.
That's true.
You don't, but there were people when I was starting out who were doing that for me. So I think it's a good idea to pay it forward and pass it on and everything.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and come back when you've got this was a great visit. Come back when you've got something else to share, talk about. You've got stuff coming out all the time. So next time you got something coming out, come chat with us, show us, and we'll geek out from that.
Yes, sir.
For real.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks everyone.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We can't hear you.
What?
I'm sorry. No, I was saying make sure the audience definitely, if they have little ones at home, definitely pick up Frankie and the Dragon. It looks adorable. Looking at that cover with the little girl reminds me of my niece, and just sets my soul. Just makes me want to go out and buy it. Now she can't read, but when I teach her how to read with your book, so definitely, as well as your other Marvel, DC, Star Wars books that are geared towards children. I think my nephew actually has a couple of those Spider-Man ones as well. So definitely.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Spider-Man ones are like short stories that I wrote for those big like Disney book group anthologies, like 5-minute Spider-Man stories and Spider-Man storybook collection. So I've written some of those. Those were a lot of fun to write as well. And there are 2 other mythical creatures books as well as Frankie and the Dragon. There's the Troll Under Puzzlefoot Bridge and Trevor the very best dragon. Trevor the very best giant, which the giant in there, and I don't know how obvious this is, but I told the artist to make the giant look like Patrick Stewart. Make Trevor look like Patrick Stewart. And so I included all these images. I think he does look like Patrick Stewart somewhat, you get a shot in there.
There's a resemblance. I can see it.
But yeah, so if there's a Star Trek connection to that one, that's it. But it's a fun book, and there's a big twist as to why he keeps calling himself the very best giant, which is a twist where I told my wife about it while I was writing it, and she was like, "Oh, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard," and I was like, "Oh, then it's going into the book, definitely." So,
I would definitely have to get that one too. Thank you, Ari.
It's fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You have
Thank you
have
thank
a
you
very
so
good night. And
much.
like I said, come on next time you want to come back, just let me know. We'll book you on the show.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
Thanks. It was really wonderful talking to all of you. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank
We'll
you
see
so
you
much.
later. Bye.
Bye.
That was fun. He was
Oh,
very
yeah.
like, into it. Like a lot of
Oh,
details.
I'm about to make so many books.
I want to
Love
know the guy.
for
We
the
got
world.
new guys, children's
Like,
book.
Let me for everyone watching. I have more than new guys, by the way, y'all. So I just want y'all to know that. Buy my book. Buy my script.
Yes. Speaking of scripts, that reminds me of movies. And speaking of movies, the big take back.
Yeah.
We for those who need a refresher, the big take back week 3 was geared towards the HBO Max films on the HBO Max. So that's a large well of films you can go and rewatch, whether it was, DC Fair, Godzilla's, any of the Tarantino flicks that are on there. Just a nice little menagerie, if you will, of things to choose from. And once again, we will go from we'll showcase a couple of ours to give you, to showcase it off. And if anybody has any reviews they would like to share themselves, feel free to just drop it in the replies to the tweet we put out earlier, and definitely show it if we have time before we go off tonight. And we'll retweet any other ones we come across as well on Twitter. So first things first, we're gonna start off with Key's review of Crazy Rich Asians. And
well, before we start, can I give like a little rundown of what the big take back is for people who don't know?
Yes.
A little bit. So just real quick, the big take back is where you as the audience go and create a review account on the sites that have tally fan reviews. And the big take back is every week we're going to do some activity to make your account active and to actually give you practice in writing reviews, and also have other reviews there so that people can find you reliable. And so we every week we've done something new. Like last week you were to, like Q said, dive into the HBO Max archives. We've written about favorite childhood books. We wrote about BVS. So each week there's going to be something different. It's meant to give you a little bit of practice in finding your voice, because let's face it, not everybody's a writer, and some of us, it's been a while. So you want to whenever Zack Snyder's Justice League comes out, I know a lot of you want to be able to describe your experience with the book. And the best way to do that is to get practice in the writing. And I'm saying this is the English professor side of me coming in. And the 15 years of writing experience I have. I'm telling you, if you practice, even just writing just 1 or 2 reviews a week, by the time March 18th rolls around, you'll be able to find the words you need to say exactly what you want to say about the movie. Because we know now that people are not going to be looking at the critics reviews. And I'm saying that as a critic myself. People are going to be looking at the audience reviews. They're going to be looking at your reviews. So you want to be able to have something out there that tells them exactly what you feel about the movie. And in this way, we're taking back that narrative. So we're making it to where the critics will not have the only say so over what the movie is. So, and back to you, Q.
All right. So we're going to toss it over to Key, and she can explain her review of Crazy Rich Asians. And I'm probably going to just back out because apparently clicking on the image makes it smaller than if I just had it up regularly. So there we go.
Okay.
Go ahead and speak your truth, Queen.
Okay, so I had gotten into this series like a while back, and I just fell in love with it. So when I found out it was going to be a movie, I lost my shit. I was so excited. Because when you think of romantic comedies, they're corny. Like, let's just keep it it's corny. So when I found out it was going to be an Asian director, I was like, okay, it's going to be a little good, because a lot of people, well, I don't know if y'all had ever heard, but it was some production companies have wanted to make the main character, Rachel, a white woman.
I didn't hear that. Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. Some production companies wanted to make her a white woman. He was like, no, we ain't going to do that. So I was thankful for that. And the movie is it's really good. You don't realize it's like not the typical romantic comedy. It's really nice. Like, every single character, they play their part. And hopefully we get a sequel. I'm really praying we get a sequel. Also, everybody on Twitter has decided that Chris Pang is going to take the place of Chris Pratt. It's official. And it's law.
Nice.
Chris Pratt, where? Huh?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm for that. Yeah.
Exactly. We switched Chris Pratt out for Chris Pang. It's law.
So,
I just want to say that the wedding scene in Crazy Rich Asians has revised I'm a romance movie lover as well. It has totally knocked out every wedding movie I have ever known. Nothing compares to this wedding scene. I was describing it to somebody, and they're like, "Oh, you mean when she walks across this pool?" I was like, "Watch the movie. It's more than her walking across the pool." Okay.
It's just so cute. It's so romantic.
Yeah.
Like, I was over here boo-hooing and crying with my friend when we watched it the first time. It wasn't even my wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So to my future husband out there, if you're not looking at me like that when I walk down the aisle, we're going to keep starting over till you get it right.
Fun fact about Crazy Rich Asians, after my dynamite performance in both the Snyder Cut and the Ayer Cut,
oh gosh,
they asked and Big Money Steve, shout out to Steve Kasani's in the chat, check him out. He will be on the mess tomorrow, chatting up with him on the Ayer Cut. He got me in to being Crazy Rich Asians, but the problem being, they felt like I would take away from the movie because there's about the Asian culture and just having.
So they cut your scenes.
So your scenes got cut.
Let me finish, y'all.
You got your scenes cut.
Mm-hmm.
The point I was, you know what? Enough about me. Let's go to this next review. Let's go to Joe's review of the incomparable Jumpin' Jack Flash. Joe.
Okay, so this movie I hadn't seen in a long time, but I remember I loved it. Whoopi, all of Whoopi's early movies are I love all of them, but this one I really liked, and so I really didn't think it had any importance in it until I watched it again, and I'm like, oh my god, this movie was so ahead of its time. And how she talked about the treatment of Black women in it. I mean, and how you had these men that are like looking at her as that are dismissive of her, everywhere she turned, but she had this thing that she had to do, and who did she turn to? The women, the wives, and to get the job done. And I just really thought that big of a message like that in the 80s was kind of before its time. And there's a lot of like really blunt commentary that I didn't remember from before. But this movie is about, Whoopi Goldberg is basically just working in a bank and just at the call center, kind of, she does data entry and stuff. But she intercepts this message from a British spy who's stuck in Russia and is trying to get out. And so she's talking to this guy, Jack Flash, and the name, I guess, the name comes from the song that he uses to give her the code, and so she has to figure out how to get this guy the help he needs, while fighting against people that are against him in his own consulate. Like the British consulate has like people in it trying to get him. They want him dead. They don't want him to come home. They want him dead. And they're looking at her like, you're this little black chick. What can you do? And so, yeah, it's like and it happens to be funny all along the way. I really, really love it. So, I really, that's what I wrote my review about it. And just how it was funny and how it had all those light social issues and back then the tech is outdated, the styles are as well, but the social commentary is so now. I think it's worth a rewatch.
Yeah. Shout outs to my dad. He said that's a classic movie, one of his favorites from Whoopee.
Hi, Dad.
And
yeah, it's always been mine, but I never really got it until now, Yeah.
Don saying that they cut my scene out, and I'm like, you ain't gotta rub it in. It's bad enough Mike is just on my throat about them cutting my stuff. So, and then ACS finding it all hilarious and respect the game. But y'all mean like I'm literally an actor, I was in these films, it's not my fault that they may or may not see the light of day, but I was there. All right, let's go to this next review. This guy here, I'm so proud to show his specific review of a film. It's quite honestly one of the most groundbreaking reviews on any sort of cinema I've ever read in my entire life.
That sounds so fake.
I mean, he's an actor, though.
Right.
On Happy Gilmore. Okay.
Yeah. Happy Gilmore is
Oscar winning. Love it.
Happy Gilmore, legitimately, in my humble opinion, is one of the best movies produced in the last 30 years.
30?
Yes, 30, because I'm including the totality of the 1990s in this. This is one of, in my opinion, one of the last true feel-good yet genuinely slapstick comedies, not just made by Adam Sandler, but just period. Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore. It is, and I stand by it. Adam Sandler's Happy Gilmore is a very, very incredibly likable character with reasonable hang-ups, but still when he expresses his genuine emotion, you buy into it. It's not fraudulent. You're not going on, this is unbelievable. It's cool. It's not cool. That's a poor way to, or maybe it's not. It's a very nice way of portraying a main character. Carl Weathers Chubbs Peterson is a quintessential mentor in that he rolls right along with the most absurd scenarios in the movies, but still plays it straight enough that it's believable. Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin, just top tier movie villain stuff. Love to hate him. Everything he does is slimy and just detestable, but he's so comedic in it that you just can't help but laugh. The cameos in it from Ben Stiller being the disgruntled, and I shouldn't laugh because it's horrible, but the way they portrayed it is so hilarious. The disgruntled care home person where he has these elderly people do manual labor, sweatshop style, and it's just the one thing I wish is that he got a comeuppance in the film, because that would have been nice to see Happy give him a nice little 2-piece combo with a side of biscuits and a large Coke. So that would have been nice to see, but can't, win some, you lose some. The actor who played Jaws in James Bond, I just realized that was Happy Gilmore's boss. So that was a nice little thing. Overall, I can just quote that movie off the top of my head. Genuinely hilarious. A masterclass in comedic film.
Give us a quote.
Ooh, a quote. That's so many quotes. The price is wrong, bitch. Had enough? No? Now you have. Bitch. Watching. Thank you, because now I'm about to go into rant mode, Mike. Watching Adam Sandler and Bob Barker fight was quite honestly the funniest thing I ever seen, and I will always belly laugh every time I see that. Like, literally,
just begun.
when he had to find his happy place after he was losing Shooter, and then Shooter's little like his little groupie running down Happy Gilmore at the climax of the film, just. And then when they're at the hockey rink with the love interest, and then you got the random dude singing "My Love" in the background because nobody's seeing. Next one, we're gonna throw it over to the next review before I just start laughing my ass off. Anybody has seen Happy Gilmore and has opinions on it?
Yes, I have opinions. I got opinions.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna shut up. You know what? I'm gonna shut up. Never mind. I ain't saying anything.
Keep it cute or keep it on mute.
Oh snap! Mike, did you have a quick little off the top of the dome review of a movie you
Nope,
love?
don't.
So in that case, we're gonna throw it over to Aaron's review of another quintessential comedy film.
They can read it.
They can read it.
Austin Powers, yes.
Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. It's a great movie. Watch it. I loved it. It's hilarious. Good parody. Good satire of 60s spy films.
Nice.
Check it out.
Love it.
That is also.
That's it. That's all they get. That's all they get. You got to pay $7.99 a month to get the rest.
Come on, subscription fee.
So confirm. We at Mold Diversity is now charging feeds for us people to get our reviews. Just want to let it know.
Aaron is.
Honestly, I think he might hop on that too. The way this economy set up.
At least that's we charging folks, and it's a nice segue. The reason why we wanted to do HBO Max is because of the accessibility of the films, and since a lot of us have HBO Max in the lead up to Zack Snyder's Justice League, that makes it kind of, we're not just jumping from place to place, because I know these folks want to bust your head for these streaming services. I just found out that now WWE Network has been bought by Peacock, so now the free WWE Network I've been using is going to go dodo bird, and I'm about to download Peacock and all of this other garbage. So
I can't relate. I already downloaded Peacock.
Hey, kid, where's my review?
Oh,
it's not in the thread.
How do you forget Avia?
It wasn't in the thread, so let me click
I'm always
the
forgotten. I'm always forgotten.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
damn,
Well, I'm in
man.
the thread because I put mine under AVS.
Oh, you forgot two folks.
But call me out. Ask me for on Dome one.
Yeah, because for one, Joe must have put it under no, because there's no reply for this, and then I click on this. Since y'all gonna call me out, where the AV is at?
If you go back,
it's on the 3.
if you go back,
Where'd it go?
I saw Avius though.
right.
Because Avia had her independently with the hashtag. That I do remember, but I thought like y'all it was, but it wasn't. That's why I knew to click on the hashtag.
Well,
If y'all gonna come for the Kang, y'all best not miss. But not
Lowercase Kane.
Okay, Kang.
Go ahead, Avia. I'm sorry that they took up your time.
It's all right. I did mine on Above the Rim, and pretty much I was just saying that it there are some stereotypical roles in the movie, and that are 90s, early 90s centric, like from Boys in the Hood, Juice, and those type of movies. But it worked. The cast, really worked well with what they were given, and it's just one of those classic 90s movies, and one that I'd still watch to this day. And I'd say watch it definitely. And the late great Tupac, can't forget him. So
Yeah.
Does it age better than some of the other ones we used to love back then? We had a discussion about one that I'm not going to name because I'm not going to get dragged by Black Twitter. But does it age well?
For the most part, it as of right now it ages okay. I won't say ages well, but it ages okay.
So it's not like that one movie that I probably get burned alive for dragging, but I'm going to anyways.
So we're not gonna say it.
No, I'm not.
You can say it if you want to.
They don't wait for the review because that's
$7.99 a month. $7.99 a month to find out.
That's next week's thing, so they'll find out when we do it.
$7.99 a month to find out. Okay.
Are you talking about Woman to Woman, the song Ray Fisher doesn't even know?
Would you?
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Well, good night, everybody.
Right. Hey, good Lord have mercy.
But yeah, we got
I do just want to.
Go ahead.
No, I just want to say this to all my women out there: if you have a good career and a man dumps you before you get to your career, but comes back because he loses everything, don't take him back. Because you.
Wait a damn minute.
You deserve better, queen. You deserve better.
I mean, that's not groundbreaking information, but it's like it.
Oh God, I love
You didn't realize that was like a part of the story, right?
That's a big part of the story. I just
What is the
to put it out
movie?
there. Love
and Basketball.
So
Y'all are
sick of it.
rough.
Sick of that movie.
Y'all are rough on a bona fide hood classic just because
Ain't better than The
We wanna
Wood.
if we want to get, who talk about The Wood?
I said it ain't better than The Wood.
Oh,
nobody said it was better than The Wood.
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying it ain't better than The Wood.
I mean, I'm just saying y'all hating on these black.
I mean,
folks
let me talk about the best
looking
man.
in basketball.
No, you know what?
Like y'all can't let these black folks love and basketball. Like, we can't do that no more. Like,
all day long. It's just that I'm not doing it with you.
Exactly, I'm not doing it with you.
Listen here.
Worst. You ain't getting me in my best.
You know what? Q, you're gonna get us cussed out on Black Twitter. Just stop.
Listen here, y'all. I got something to say about love and basketball.
Oh my God.
Love and Basketball is a tour de force in black filmography, and I will not.
Shut up, bitch! Oh my God!
So you told yourself to shut up?
Thank you for ruining the illusion of the joke, Mike.
I'm just saying because y'all don't want nobody. I don't want to know, if ands or buts that we push that button on you. So
I'm gonna take responsibility for it.
Thank you, Key, for keeping the joke alive.
I was gonna say responsibility
thank you.
for it.
So we're gonna that sentence was non-canon. We're not gonna reference Mike saying that, and from there we're just gonna.
I said it.
We're gonna keep rolling.
I said it.
But no, I'm not gonna rest until I convert y'all to love and Basketball.
You ain't got to convert me. I done put that book buried and never gonna rise again.
The thing is, I used to like
now, it did have that Maxwell song. It did have that Maxwell song.
You might love that song without it. Yeah, Morgan.
Lee Morgan. Toxic.
I mean, well, all of those movies we used to like back then are toxic. Because, like, Disappearing Acts, remember that one?
We should do an episode on toxic movies with toxic relationships.
Love. I mean, I love some of them still.
Yeah. So y'all can talk bad about Love and Basketball for 2 hours.
We won't bring it up.
Wait. If we have something where we talk about toxic love, do we talk about WandaVision?
Yes.
Can we talk about The Preacher's Wife?
Yes.
No, I am not blaspheming the name of Whitney Houston. We're not doing that either.
Okay, so
the Whitney stands
and we're gonna be talking about toxic love. There's a book series that's probably gonna get me freaking doxxed.
You talking about Twilight?
I'm gonna talk about that shit anyway.
You talking about Twilight?
The Shining Empires.
After.
Did you see that article from Instinct magazine?
Oh, the fracking?
No, not that.
Oh.
Little team like that, didn't you? Like Chef.
See, I am so glad y'all held all this in until Ari was gone.
Well, first of all, we were not going to mess up Ari's business because if he was going to be on when we talk about how The Preacher's Wife is an inherently toxic film and how it perpetuates the negative stereotype of how preachers are no good.
Listen, Black Twitter.
No good preacher.
It's him. It's over there. He over there.
Y'all just in Living Color said that Love and Basketball was toxic. And what y'all think?
He's over there.
Ooh, in Living Color.
Do y'all want to know Do y'all really want to know a toxic black film? though? Save the Last Dance. Save the Last Dance is the
Black film.
Hawkeye is a black film.
What you mean? It's literally about a black dude teaching a white woman black things.
So I
didn't
guess
say
But it's
it
Green Arrow
about
is a black
her.
film
But
too.
no.
It's
But the
about
thing is,
her.
it's about her, and it's through her gaze. She's looking
Exactly,
at
it's through
all of
her
these
eyesight.
people through her perspective. So
A
it's
black
not a black
director,
film.
right?
Villain. They made
Not
a white girl the villain,
Morgan.
There just happen to be black people in it.
Tyler Perry's wigs. I wouldn't go that far, but you know.
Oh
Cut the cameras. Cut the Good night, everybody.
That's
no!
Cut them fucking lights on, bitch.
Oh.
That was a rough. That was
rough. That was rough.
I watched a toxic film. Braxton Tales. Now that's toxic.
Braxton
Yes.
oh my god.
Yes.
Sick.
Okay,
Now that
so
was toxic.
do we want to get into that one?
Has it
Let's
legally?
talk, want to talk about that one real quick?
I said we can wait until we can post a clip because we had we had our time limit, ain't we?
Oh yeah, it's 9:00. And we didn't work. So we do have a clip of we interviewed Ola this morning, who plays Benji, and you know that's going to be on our YouTube channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it will by the end of the week.
Yeah, we can talk about it tomorrow on the mess.
Yes, we can, and by we, I mean you and Mike. Because y'all talk a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, Avia, come on too, because you did have a chance to interview him. So yes, you come on with us tomorrow night too.
Yeah. So y'all can get the messy.
Boo.
Okay, so
Good night,
also
everybody.
on the mess,
I couldn't let you get that one. I'm sorry, bro.
We need everybody to watch our beloved Steve Kassan and Ruby. It's on YouTube. It's we're gonna talk about it tomorrow. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Don't watch around the kids, okay? Just make sure the kids is in another room, asleep. Don't watch around the kids. But it's called Ruby. And it's on YouTube. And it's powerful. It's a lot.
Powerful.
And what regard?
I'm trying not to give too much away and just hunting for some words here, okay?
If y'all don't watch this,
because
this suspenseful thriller that our homie was in and did a wonderful job. So that's all we gonna say.
If I recall correctly, y'all explicitly said, and I quote, was erotica.
It's an erotic thriller, yes.
So that means they gonna be doing some nasty stuff.
Okay, hun, you woke up this morning and just decided you were just gonna just choose violence all day long, right?
I will say I did watch it last night. I did tweet about it. I will bring my thoughts and opinions up tomorrow at the mess because I saw a lot of discourse today about it and I will address it. And, I feel like, at the end of the day, let the people watch what they want to watch. It is what it is at the end of the day. You're not signing that check.
I'm just signing that now.
Not signing that check, but, we ain't got to instigate, Mr. Davis.
All I'll say is this, Don. I would have watched Superman and Lois, but I would rather do just about anything else with my life than sit there and watch that. So I didn't.
Dang.
And
so
he's
the
a
big
non-viewer.
Take Back 4.
Hey, I'll give my shit away for free.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll give it away for free.
Okay, Take Back 4. We're doing
Okay, so I'm gonna have to switch that up with the one that we talked about in the meeting yesterday. We're not gonna be able to do due to technical difficulties. So I'm going back to my original list.
Yes.
Take Back week 4.
Yes.
You have to choose a Marvel film.
Oh, what? You just switched it up on me twice.
I switched it up on you. Yep.
Because you
went back to my original list in the Slack.
Let's pull back the
Okay,
curtain.
I have my original list in the Slack right there. I just went back to that. That's it. Because what I was originally going to say, it was going to be a black film choice, but I had a whole thing with that, and it's not. I wasn't able to do it tonight. So, we're going to do a Marvel film. You got to pick a Marvel film.
Can it be in? Does it have to be
Yes.
studio or can it be any Marvel film?
You can
Like-
do animated. Animated?
I don't know why, and I just don't know why I asked that because Into the Spider-Verse is no longer on Netflix, so I can't just watch it. So that means I have to find something
You
else.
know what the concept
is?
is, and you know what it is, so you could write a review
Exactly,
from it,
just
right?
review it from memory.
But I want.
Isn't it on Disney Plus? Wouldn't it be on Disney Plus? It's
None
not?
of the Sony Spider-Man movies are on Disney Plus because they did not do a deal.
Does
for it.
Deadpool count as a Marvel movie?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
But see,
I'm surprised you're not talking about X-Men.
Yeah, but I want to watch Into the Spider-Verse.
I mean, but you can.
You can watch it all you want.
You're just not going to give Disney or Sony their coins.
But
I think you should do an X-Men movie and link it with your article you wrote this week.
Mm-hmm.
The closest X-Men movie I have in arm's length is the one that will make me cry, and I don't feel like crying watching this masterpiece of a film.
Well,
but I will cry for y'all. I will cry.
Okay, Don. See.
Wait. You said? Did you say?
Yeah. I'm so glad his voice.
Whoa, somebody done me wrong. Jojo, you know what? Jojo, what boy? Jojo, what boy? Somebody give me life, 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 give me life.
We're all horrible.
The bang girl and that bang custom takes me out.
I just want to know about the leg. What was the leg?
What was the leg? I don't know.
He
That's
caught
how
a carnivore.
old black men do when they get hyped. They just start jumping with one leg and swinging the towel around.
If my dad ever does that, I'm gonna have questions.
Somebody gave me life, give me life, give me life, give me.
Why do you have to have your leg up like that though? With just like, yeah.
Why? There's just so many things going on in that one clip.
Right now.
Yeah. I don't think we would have to come. We have to do that when we come back. Would you rather's?
Yeah.
It's like he's still been. But yeah. So I mean, why not a Marvel movie? Why do we don't want to do a Marvel movie?
I'm down because I'm doing Winter Soldier. So yes, this will be my first review. I will have some time. I do Winter Soldier. Yes,
I thought you were going to say Age of Ultron, Mike. I'm genuinely.
I mean, I can do that too. I do two of them.
You know what? I want to do Age of Ultron because I don't remember it.
I think I'm gonna do Infinity War. Yeah, I'm gonna do Infinity War.
I'm gonna do Deadpool too because I haven't yet to watch that all the way.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember Age of Ultron, and there's like so many references in WandaVision. I need to watch it. So,
well, are you gonna watch it by tomorrow night?
Probably put it
Okay,
on.
cool. Because I would love to know your fresh thoughts on it.
I was
going to be a leeway into WandaVision.
Refreshed because I've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'd be refreshed. So tomorrow on the mess, we're gonna be talking about WandaVision. And why do people hate this episode? You know what? We'll get into that tomorrow because I got
a black woman is the lead,
save it.
And they hating on this black woman who had her time to shine. I'm saying it now. I'm being controversial. Monica had the most shine in this episode and got her powers, and folks hating because they can't handle this black woman finna go toe to toe with Wanda and smack some sense into her.
Oh, is that why we never got a Storm movie?
Yeah, damn right. And because because 50% of the Storm actresses are objectively bad and don't deserve to be in the solo movie, but that's a different conversation for a different day. And
Hallie, we love you.
Yes, we do love Hallie. Hallie, we do love. Yes, let's make that very clear. Halle Berry, we do love.
But the ship then sailed on the other one.
Good night, everybody. Well, good night, everybody. We love you.
Hey, we love you,
diversity. Like, share, subscribe, hit that little notification bell.
Tom and Jerry. Oh, we done broke the producer. Good night, everybody.
Are we just gonna end it right now, right here?
You know what? Everybody tell me where you from. I mean, where you at?
Jonita L. Davis. Watch for Tomorrow on the Mess. Bitch, what on Friday? Bitch, what on Friday or Saturday this week? Friday. And then, yeah, go to my Black Cape Media, and you'll get to see my interview with Monica Rambeau, Tayana Paris. She was really, really sweet to talk to. So, also have an interview with Cherry Johnson because Punky Brewster comes out this week.
I still ain't watched it.
You know what?
What the hell's my name? Just follow me there. Follow me there.
It's right there. It's at the bottom of the thing.
I'm Quamon Star G. Show is objectively the funniest person here, and she has usurped me as the shade queen, and she will wear that crown properly and greatly. Y'all got it from here. Watch Into the Qniverse every Sunday on Facebook Live. We talk about geeky gaming nerdies.
We on this set on Friday. It's at a time, y'all. I got to go to bed.
All right, we out of here.
Yeah, follow us.
Y'all get for Mr. Ray.